Probably my favorite example when people ask about writing and improv and the connection between the two, like how there's possibly really a connection. I always like to remind people that Chris Farley, motivational speaker, man. That character comes out of an improv exercise in Chicago before it landed anywhere near SNL in New York. That character went through stages and stages, and the first time he appeared, Matt Foley was on an improv stage, and he just got better and better and refined, and he still had just as much heat in those sketches where David Spade's laughing, Phil Hartman's almost laughing in that one, the great Phil Hartman.
I don't know, man. I think with regard to comedy, I just like stuff that makes you laugh, makes you think. I mean, it's always like the truth coming through. It's what makes comedy in my book. It's anybody who's a truth teller.
No, you got to respect those the most, for sure.
It's funny because it's true, right?
Oh, yeah. And it makes you think, like when it hits you and it's like the punchline, it doesn't just make you laugh, but it makes you kind of grab your chin like, oh, my God.
Yeah, the real comedy makes you think, so that's what Chappelle's really good at. Like he'll hit you with something, then you go, "Oh," like that's kind of comedy.
That's at base how my brain works. Welcome to my brain. But like I said, man, I know how my shit works, and so like on stage as an entertainer, boy, everything is heightened. All my senses are heightened when I'm on stage. I'm a very I don't know, like a bubbly or energetic person,
Sure.
Man, sure. When I'm on stage, I am a fucking lightning storm. Like I just sometimes when I've had a long stretch of shows and I was in improv, like doing that shit like daily, and I would do shows, oh my God, it was like when a basketball player feels his game going, right? When that touch is just right. And but the wishful thinking will always drive an entertainer crazy, especially improv, because there's so many which ways you can go on a scene. So
I think it's supremely useful though, right? Like it has to be.
Yeah, oh absolutely. But with great powers comes great responsibility. If you
I'm psyched for your one-man show, man. For real.
What one-man show?
I don't know. Whenever it's gonna come, I don't know. You tell me. Like I'm psyched for it. I think you will throw on an incredible one-man show.
Did I say I was gonna do a one-man show?
No, I said you're gonna do a one-man show.
Do you have a robe on? Is that how player you are?
No, this is. I wish, man. I could change right now, though.
Yeah, do it live.
It'd be more television viewers in the Super Bowl, man.
Look at that brown hairy nipple.
That's how you make it. That's how you make it. Controversy. What you guys talking about?
Hairy nipples.
I want to give a big thanks to Darius and Rock and D. The special invocation podcast. There is something truly magical about performance when you become somebody else, when you do something. And the transformation, if you can hold on to it, I think is like a lesson. And I know kids are exposed to that magic at a very early age for the most part when they do like school plays. I was a teacher for a little bit over at the elementary school. I was working with special needs kids, and there's this one kid. He's one of my favorite kids. This kid, and they were all amazing. This kid just like loved to pull on things. He was just very interesting about his sensory overloads being attached to pulling on things. He just loved to pull on things. So he was a hard person to keep still. So he had a school play, and I was right behind him, like I was wearing all black and nobody could see me. I was just right behind this kid, like holding him by the hips, making sure he wouldn't run off somewhere in the middle of the play so he could contribute as well, be part of it.
Right.
And oh my God, dude, like his stillness, his awareness that the light was on him, his transformation into a performer, and for me to be behind it, I fucking felt it. You know what I mean? and it was tangible. It was tangible because this kid is not to stand still. That's not what he was built to do. So when he's there, I shit you not, I told this to the other teachers afterwards. I was like, I think for a second I thought he was the president of the United States. Just the way he stood there, he was just so fucking regal.
Oh, Nacho wrote an essay.
Yeah, no, that's quite a bit. He's covered up.
Girl, I don't know anyone. Read this text. I'm gonna get back to you later.
Habibi always accuses me of being like a Fox News operative. And I don't know where that even comes from, man.
Man, but like you're not, right?
Nah, man, I don't work for them. That would be some nice money, though. I can't lie about that.
So if Fox said, "Hey, Demetrius, I know you're black and we don't fuck with you, but if you want to do a show on our network, Fox News, because we don't fuck with black people,
any day of the week, man.
We were looking for a token black guy to just talk about things that we think. And here's $100,000 a year."
Yes. Wait, no, I mean, I think a Fox salary would be a little bit higher than that. Like at least 300.
300,000? Really?
Yeah, I think so. They pay good money.
All right, I'll give you $500,000 a year.
Oh man, shoot, I'm already done. I've already signed that contract.
You're doing it?
It's like, you want me to sign it in blood, sir? Yeah, I'll cut my finger and I'll sign
Yeah. What was once lost is now found. We all live together in this little town. We share love for one another. We call each other, yo, you is my brother.
Yeah.
We do. Go, you.
Yeah.
Okay, so here I go talking for black people again. So might as well keep my fist up. I have a plan. Okay. And I was just telling D before we started, man, these kids,
right?
I'll be on it, man. Us 80s babies, we're like, okay, is that Wi-Fi on? Is it connected, right?
It's really like that. I've seen.
Honestly,
I got to give it up to a lot of, because that's the stereotype, right? Like anyone that's not born before like the year 1995, like right, has like that, they don't know what to do with like anything. But for the most part,
right,
it's there's no big difference. It's the elderly we got to worry.
Yeah. The big difference to me, like it's just normal to those after 95, like. Internet was in your face when you were 10. It was not when I was 10, right? So it's like still a thing, not the norm.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's like I was saying, we kind of chatted about that. It's like we came up during the transition period. Right. It's like the internet was becoming a thing. We were kind of like, if you've ever seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, like we were like the chimps beating at the tablet,
What a reference. Okay. Yeah. I like that.
We are just as godly as the gods that we would maybe think of as a social norm or a community, right? So embrace that idea, not to say, haha, I'm God, fuck you, but more like what that really represents is leadership and togetherness and unity of people and human decency, and saying, yo, man, you don't have to get closer to God or spend your life trying to think about what God would do. And this, you feel that in yourself, and you two are gods. I feel that. I always assume that. Maybe I don't say it because, like Habibi, you're getting at, it sounds corny or weird that we refer to our friends as God. But I have a friend in particular that, sometimes he struggles with love and getting it or receiving it or recognizing it. So I always respond to him with, "What's up, God? I love you, God. peace, God, and it over time has become something incredibly powerful to that person, and it reminds them of what love is. It reminds them of our relationship and what power it could have, and what power we instill in ourselves with just a little bit of positivity. So that's my God complex, and I think that you guys are gods, and I try to carry myself like that.
Oh, that's wild, man. That's some good stuff.
Don't tell a Christian I said that, because oh my God.
I think it's absolutely extraordinarily hilarious and so human. You know what I mean? To try to exceed your grasp. You know, when things are just so rotten at home, but you go on social media to pretend like everything is fine. You know, now everything's rotten at home, so we're gonna go to like outer space and pretend like everything is fine. Like, no, things are not fine. You take care of your shit at
It is
home.
so human. It is
Be
so
a better father, be a better son, be a better daughter, be a better mother. Then worry about going to fucking outer space. We have no business being out there colonizing. Because colonizing implies what? That you're exporting your way of being outwards. We have no right. None. Zilch. In fact, we have less right than a goddamn snail. A snail has never bombed Japan twice with nuclear bombs. We have no fucking business. No business.
Correct.
We need to be spending the rest of our lives as Americans just saying sorry and stop trying so damn hard to fix things that are sorry.
Wrestling's honestly, it's changed, especially over the last like 40 or so years, because for the 80s, for the 80s specifically, because you know, I'm sure you watching it as a kid, you see people like, you know, Snuka, Hogan, Piper, Savage. They have these over the top personalities where like, and that's still at the time where you're like, these people are the characters. You know, we live in an era now where it's like, I know you're not the person.
Exactly.
I see you on Twitter just talking about how you play like video games all the time. So I don't. So they try their best to try to make you believe for those 2 to 3 hours every week that, you know, this is real, rather than like you just automatically believing it, because then they don't have to rely on stories. It's like these are people. It's like boxing. You don't have to have a story in boxing to be excited for the match. That was the same thing with wrestling back in the 80s. Exactly. But now that we all know it's like kind of scripted, but they have to kind of pump in the
right.
the storylines of it.
You're absolutely right.
That's an interesting conundrum. But you know, what's interesting about like wrestling and video games is that it was video games that got me into wrestling. Like I was a big video game kid growing up.
Wow. Yeah. What kind of games you play?
Man, I used to play everything, man. I just enjoyed video games a lot, like you know, Super Mario, stuff like that, like Super Nintendo, Sega, you know, N64. But yeah, it's like the first wrestling game that I got was WCW World Tour on the Nintendo 64.
Wow.
It takes me back, man. I was that was like 97, something like that.
Wow. No, so it's weird because what game system was that on?
Nintendo 64.
Nintendo 64. It's weird because I started playing games. I was born in 99. So sorry to make you feel old. I'm sorry. I don't know if I have that.
I really think God, in terms of coming to peace and incorporating the whole unconditional love thing, I like to think that I think of God as an artist. I think of him as a creator, or it as a creator, or her as a creator. And the thing that artists hate the least, and when you will see an artist act absolutely the worst, is when they feel unappreciated. Like that's all it takes. That's all it takes. You can pay an artist in peanuts. You can pay us in, whatever. But at least appreciate me. You know what I mean? Like, I know life is hard. I know you can't give me everything, but just tell me that you like my piece. Tell me that, you saw it. Tell me that, give me some feedback on it. That's all an artist asks for, some kind of feedback. An audience craves an audience like, I don't know, like a bird in the sky. I don't know, that's stupid, but it's true, I think. And God probably works the same way. If there is such an entity, like, why would it work differently? All of this stuff is creation at some level or another. So why would not that mentality and sentimentality of an artist apply to this creator?
The most Harlem I've been is when I invited my barber and my plug to my wedding. I mean,
those real connections. Those real connections, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's real love right there. No,
It's
for sure.
love, man. It's love. Come on, man. Them your peoples.
And your people.
I
Fair
see
enough.
them more than my back. I see them a lot. You feel me? I see them a lot.
Wow. That's nah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what's a wedding for if not to get those closest to you together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all I had on my invite list. My my barber and my plug.
My wife. Who needs family? I don't even know.
Man. If they come, they come. If you know, you know, right?
The Twitch channel I was telling you guys about. D, you know it very well. I was going through it, and you guys know those sci-fi movies like Blade Runner, Minority Report, these dystopian futures.
Right.
And I felt it because it's like the question you're always feeling in those movies is, what is reality? There's 100 screens filled with multiple realities, and you're always seeing that protagonist go through them like, holy shit, nobody is actually listening to each other. This world is incredibly divided, and everybody's talking past each other. Probably the best marketing class I ever took was living with my roommate in my freshman year of college. This dude went off to become famous for creating that documentary called Speciesism, which launched the vegan movement in the United States. He used to work for PETA and created a documentary while he was undercover there. And his marketing brain was insane. We created a hidden prank show together. His brain worked just a little differently from everybody else's that I knew. And the way he would advertise it was by literally in the middle of the night, around 2 a.m., going around the college campus, printing off hundreds of flyers and taping them to each step of every building outside the building. And he would buy a bunch of chalk, sidewalk chalk, and he would do the same thing on the other end of campus, the other buildings. Just instead of paper, he would use chalk. I mean, he did it to every step, which was like, you maybe need to do it, two times on a staircase, but he did it to every step. And his obsession with it made it the most popular show at the university. The marketing worked, is my point. But you really had to be balls out crazy if you really want it. If you really want it, you will make it happen.
It's not even crazy, though. It's that process. You have to enjoy that process. He didn't go out there and did all that shit because he hated every second of it. Oh, no. He was fucking geared up and knew that, man, if I one motherfucker steps on this step and says, fuck it, I'll go. That's all. And that's the process.
Yeah, he, I don't know if I want to say his name or anything because I don't want to, he would go into manic stages, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if he enjoyed it. I know for a fact he hated the idea of marketing. He hated the idea of ad agencies for very legit reasons. But he knew the power of them enough to totally
just go into full mode of exercising it. And that's really wild when you can weaponize practically anything for your aims, even things that you dislike and take displeasure in.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the kind of stuff. I mean, it's like getting your hands dirty. You know what I mean? Doing something you don't want to do, really, in order to be seen. Ultimately, that was his thing. He was very confident in what he had, and he was just like, if I need to somehow get a person, if I have to hire somebody to move somebody's head to just focus on the screen, I'm going to do it. Yeah, he was just so intense. Yeah, and I mean that's what we have. We all have that pressure on us, don't we? Subliminally, we're anticipating already next Saturday night. Who's hosting Saturday Night Live? Our brains are already and our faces are already being pushed to that. It's not even Saturday, or close to Saturday, and we're already pressured to do it. So he was very interested in those pressures and how you operate them, how you activate them. And more than that, his content was about surprising people with their humanity, which is something I think people ultimately will always tune into, because I think that's the real struggle of our times. And we as we're human artists, we're not robotic artists. We are trying to always slip some humanity into what we're putting out there. And that is always worthwhile to tune into.
Those are the gifts, right? And then that, and like in life and in stage and scenes, like you gotta embrace those things, and once you feel it, you recite that feeling, and it drives for a better scene, right? A more character comes out of it because you give a fuck about what just was given to you. That's the big takeaway here from an improv performer standpoint, is like you could walk off of a scene and just know that you had a good scene just from that type of positivity that you get out of one another in a scene.
Yeah.
To get, and it doesn't have to be a funny one or one that went on to something. Maybe it was too short, but you might still think those good scenes. I think a lot of times improvisers, beat ourselves up. Oh, that wasn't a good scene. I could have did this, that, and the third. But if you're getting gifts and you're giving gifts, that was a great scene.
I think we talked about this in 2 podcasts before, I'm not sure, but this idea of time being incredibly relative, and because it's so relative, everybody has their point of view. That does not mean your point of view is invalid. It doesn't mean that just because somebody can disagree with it, and probably will, that you shouldn't have that point of view at all. That's you. That's where it comes from. In fact, the best way for that person to have their way over you is for you to think that what you have in your mind means nothing because everybody could disagree with it, or somebody could disagree with it. It's so easy for somebody to break us down, especially as artists, because we're hopefully putting out some interesting ideas that people don't talk about. So all the time we're getting a reinforcement of how to think. So you got to be really confident in putting your shit out there. You got to be really confident, because your world's not ready with its arms wide open for your controversial thoughts. It's in fact hoping that you knock yourself out of them.
It's so important to understand fear, not just say it's about fear, right? Like you gotta understand it, because you're still gonna feel that stuff the first time you do something, for example, right? Like going into that wilderness, if that fear is still us, like right now, I get what you're saying, go into that wilderness and make our own thing. There's fear holding us back. And if we program our minds to understand what that fear is, you then start teaching yourself, okay, let me become an outdoorsman, understand how to make a fire, how to build something, create something, get my food and vegetation and farm. And then I'll be more prepared to go do that. I think that's what we have to get to, is understanding the fear and help it find answers for us to
Mhm.
what we need to
Find how to
do
learn from it.
to use this, right? Like fear is a signal, maybe. Hey, a stop sign. It ain't doing shit, to be honest with you, except for mind. Like you're just the sign is telling you to stop, so you're just gonna stop. You know you can run stop signs.
They do in a lot of countries.
Yeah, but to get the analogy,
Yeah,
like
They do
fear
here,
is
man.
telling you
They
a
do in the
sign
hood.
that you can't do this. And it's saying you can't do this. And then you have to look at that stop sign and say, I get it.
You have been trained. You have been trained very well not to go outside those parameters.
Yeah,
Because even
but
when
you
there's
might
nothing to
roll a
be
stop
afraid
sign
of,
first. You might roll a stop sign first. You might get used to just cruising really down to 2 miles per hour, looking down and going. You
right?
might get
What?
that
All right. So
confident.
that person made sure it was safe first. They had the fear. Look, it's okay. Go. As soon as the
Exactly.
fear was taken care of, now
Exactly.
it's okay.
The sign is still there. I'm not going to tell anyone that you're going to get to remove fear from your life. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Peel every layer down and you'll still find that stop sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's okay, right? You know the consequences of running a stop sign. If you're okay with running a stop sign, then run the fucking stop sign.
That's so good. That's so good.